everybody. It is the 26th of December 2019, and as the year is rolling down toward the end, I am reflecting back on some of the knitting that I have done. Today, I specifically want to talk about the Make 9, which is where you decide on 9 patterns at right before the year starts and then do your best to make them all. And this year I was successful. I think the year before I either didn't take part or I was not successful. I don't recall. But this year I was successful, so let's have a little bit of a look at what I made. First, I did the Layburn socks, which were designed by Minty Fresh. I made these in January for my boyfriend's sister, the one who made me the penguin mug. The pattern is not knit to be knee-high socks, but I decided to make them into knee-high socks because why not? I think I made them knee-high socks because my boyfriend said that his sister would really like knee-high socks. So that's what I did. I used Knit Picks Stroll hand paint in the Koi Pond colorway for the main body of the socks, and then for the heels, toes, and cuffs, I used a mini that I had received from someone else, so I don't know what that yarn is. The second project on my list were the Nightingale socks by Vintage Pearls, and I made these I think in the autumn. I've made this pattern before. It was my very first color work project, was the original pair of Nightingale socks, and I made mistakes on them and my tension was a little strange, but I loved them. However, after wearing them a couple times, they stretched out, so I gave them to my friend Becca. So fast forward several years later, and I decided to make myself a pair of Nightingale socks, and I could not be happier with the way they turned out. I used some ZK minis for the colorful parts and Premier Serenity sock in black for the pattern color. The third project on my list were slipper socks by Pattons, and I made 2 pairs of these for my best friend. They are officially her Christmas present, but I gave them to her when we went camping. Well, I gave her 3 slippers when we went camping in August. Even though it was August, it was pretty chilly where we were camping. I finished the first pair before we went camping, and then I finished the first sock of the second pair while we were camping, and then started the second slipper, but finished that after we were back from camping. And my best friend lives about an hour away, so we don't see each other that often. But the next time I saw her, I gave her the second slipper of the second pair. And she likes them, she wears them. I kind of want to make a pair for myself in the future. Not necessarily this pattern. Oh, and the second set of slippers, which I don't have pictures of, I changed the cable patterns completely because I didn't actually like the cable pattern of the slipper socks. I wanted something else when I got to the second pair. Number 4 was the Neon Ski Bonnet by Lacey Volk. And I opted not to do a pom-pom or tassels because I don't wear those. I knit this using some Knit Picks special reserve yarn that Josh had given me, sort of a knitter. He gave it to me to make the Delancey cardigan, which myself and a group of friends, we all made one forever ago. I think the second ZK. So 6 years ago, and I had that yarn in my stash and I didn't have a use for it. And honestly, the Neon Ski Bonnet, I kind of just threw it on my Make 9 last year as something quick and easy to do, which it, for the most part, was. It took me a couple weeks to make that hat, but for no reason. It's definitely something you could make on a long weekend if you actually focused on it. Or even on a short weekend, if you actually focused on it. It's a worsted weight hat. The smocking is really, really easy, especially if you know how to smock without having to put it on a separate needle. The fifth project was the Crimson Tree Skirt by Catherine Eng, and we used that this year. I just packed up my Christmas tree today. Yes, it's the 26th. Yes, my Christmas tree is already packed away, and my Christmas decorations are already packed away.
Everything's packed away.
Because it stresses me out to have that much. It's not really clutter, but it feels like clutter. It gives me the same anxiety that clutter gives me to have it out after Christmas is over. But I did really enjoy seeing the tree skirt under the tree for the week or whatever it was up. The sixth project were the In and Out, which is a sock pattern by Cookie A. And I knit those again at the beginning of the year for Patrick's mom for Christmas. And like every Cookie A pattern, it was complex and required me to pay attention, but it also became very intuitive after a short period of time. Pattern number 7 was also by Cookie A, and it was the Pomatemus Socks, which I knit for my sister using BFL sock from Dream in Color. No colorway name. Very, very pretty. And again, it was complicated when I started it until my brain snapped onto that pattern, and then it became very intuitive. The second sock took me less than a week, I want to say, to finish. Pattern number 8 is the $5 in Paris, which is a sweater pattern by Anna Malazewski. I have made this pattern in the past also. It was the first sweater pattern that I ever used. So when I made this sweater for myself, I knew that I wanted to make some adjustments because the neckband is quite wide. So I started with a quarter of the number of stitches and then doubled that on the first knitting round, and then doubled that again on the second knitting round to give me the number of stitches that I needed. And that worked out really well. Other than that, I worked it to pattern. I used some beautiful hand-dyed yarn from Emily, who dyes, I can't remember. I'll put it at the bottom of the screen. Beautiful, beautiful yarn. I love that sweater. I've worn it so many times since finishing it. It's everything I wanted it to be. And the last pattern on my Make 9 for 2019 is the Carousel by Louise Robert. I made these socks using 716 knit, 716 sock in a colorway that has a swear word in it. And I really, really like these socks. They fit really, really well. The explanation for the sock was really very clear, and I enjoyed the knit so much, and I love Jenna's yarn. In 2020, I am going to kick it up just a little bit on the Make 9. I am doing 2 separate Make 9 challenges for myself. I'm doing a Make 9 that is just sock patterns, because if you've been watching for any length of time, you know that I knit a lot of socks. And then the other Make 9 is other types of things. So let's go through my Make 9 for socks first. Everything that's on my Make 9 came out of either my queue or my library. So some of these patterns are quite old, but I queued them and I downloaded, or I input them into my library for a reason. So that's where I wanted to start with my Make 9. And I'm going to make more than 18 projects next year, so I can always add more things to my list of to-dos as the year goes on. First up is Self-Striping Socks by Cheryl Giles. I have some self-striping yarn that will be gorgeous in this. I'll probably use that for my boyfriend's Christmas socks. Number 2, Aquaphobia by Crystal Flanagan. I think that I'm going to use this for my boyfriend's sister's socks because I can use a skein of random variegated crazy goodness, and it should look fabulous in this pattern. Number 3, Torrent by Tin Can Knits. It's just a really, really pretty pattern, probably for my mom. Number 4 is Three-Legged Race Socks by Megan Williams. I don't have an intended recipient in mind for this, probably myself. Number 5 is Hyperbolic Hexagon Socks by H. Lurie. I'm really excited about these socks. These will be for me because these are a pair of socks that you have to try on when you make them. And so they're just going to be a lot of fun. I like socks that have interesting construction. I like patterns that have interesting construction. So I'm really looking forward to that. Number 6, Cold as Ice by Lisa K. Ross. Another just pretty pattern, likely for my sister. Number 7, My Vampire Boyfriend by Kate Atherley, which I might make for my boyfriend. Number 8 is Stellan by Kino Knits, and that's just a lot going on in that sock. I think this will make good socks for maybe my son, maybe my mom's boyfriend. Number 9 is Pointel by Cookie A. I had to have Cookie A on my list, of course, because I love her designs. I have Knit Sock Love, and I want to work my way through most of the patterns in that book, so I threw that on there. I don't know who they'll be for, but they'll be beautiful. For my Make 9, that is Other Things. Number 1, I want to make the Water and Stone by Vera Valimaki. I've had this pattern in my library and queue for a very long time now. I have the yarn for it in my stash. My sister bought it for me. So I'm going to make this coming year. It's going to be for me. I think it's a sport weight sweater and I have a worsted weight yarn. So I'll have to do a little bit of math, a little bit of figuring out, but I just think it's beautiful. I can't wait to have that in my sweater rotation. Number 2 is quite ambitious, but I have been wanting to make a crochet Afghan all year, and so I am going to do the Chain Reaction Afghan by the Interweave Crochet Team. It is going to be complicated and a lot of work, but I think it will be really lovely when it's finished. I don't have an intended recipient for it. Several years ago, I made Steve's sister a Afghan by being part of a block a month crochet along, and I had so much fun doing that I just want to do it again. So I don't know who I'm going to make it for. I will figure that out later, but once I figure it out, I will start that and it will be amazing. Number 3 is the Orthogonal by Lee Meredith, which is a very cool scarf with a lot of options on how you make it. Just looks like a fun, scrappy type project. Number 4, Tree Garland by Linda Perman, which is going to be so cute. I want, when I grow up, to be the lady who has Christmas decorations everywhere. So if I want that when I grow up, I should probably do that now. And by when I grow up, I mean when my children are adults and out of my house. Number 5 is just a small thing just so that I could have something easy. I want to make a Turn a Square by Jared Flood, likely for my boyfriend, because he is finally coming around to the idea that hats that are not ball caps might be a great idea when you live in Michigan and it gets really cold. So he's been stealing my hats recently, so I just want to make him his own hat that is not one of my hats so that he can stop stealing my hats. Number 6 is Little Nar Cat by Stephanie Lotvin. I am making this for my niece. I already have the yarn for it. Well, the main yarn colors. There's a tiny bit of, I believe, Intarsia with 4 or so different colors that you just need a small amount for. So I don't necessarily have that yarn already, but maybe I do. I don't know. Worst case scenario, it's a worsted weight sweater. Worst case scenario, I will hold some of my scrappy fingering weight double and it should work fine. Number 7 is Filigree Slouch by Woolly Wormhead. It's just really beautiful, a very gorgeous textured hat. I don't know if it will be for me or for someone else. I just really want to make it. Number 8 is Naughty Gloves by Julia Mueller. These will be for me. The only person I like enough to make gloves for is myself because they take so much work. 10 fingers is a lot. I don't even like making thumbs on mittens, but now I'm doing thumbs plus 8 fingers. Again, this is a pattern that I've made before, but I made it a really, really long time ago. I do recall that I liked the instructions and I liked the finished object. Number 9 is Or a Pullover by Heidi May. I made a few of those this year. And this coming year, I want to make the one for myself so that I can have a cozy, cuddling in my bed garment. I don't have the yarn for it yet. I just really, really want it. Did you take part in Make 9 in 2019? Are you going to take part in 2020? Let me know what your plans are. If you took part, let me know if you were successful or not, or if you had to change some things. It's kind of hard planning out your crafting year at the beginning of the year because 12 months is a long time to stick to a crafty plan. Tastes change, circumstances change, but I think it's a fun challenge for me personally. And if you're joining in, let me know what your plans are. Or if you're doing some other sort of goal oriented knitting, crocheting, crafting plan of whatever sort, let me know what your plan is down below. Thank you for listening.